I'm actually going to put this method to test in an upcoming video. This is a method that honestly is so easy. You can actually apply it so many times throughout your day. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to any new viewers. We are talking about how to use robotic affirming as the easiest, normalized, literally automated way for your mind to think about your manifestation, focus on the end result, and get the best, fastest results that you can. And this was inspired by things I have been, well, obviously things I already know, put into practice, and things I saw on TikTok where I thought this is the kind of thing that people seem to love because my challenge videos do really, really well. And I thought, let me do an updated version with robotic affirming, but done in a very specific way. So that will probably be one of my next upcoming videos, maybe like a week-long challenge. So I am going to post that not just for members, but as an overall video. I think that will be really interesting and following on from everything that we're talking about in today's video. So all about robotic affirming, how to make it really easy, and yeah, all of that good stuff. And then at the end of the video, the final section will be how to actually apply everything that I've been talking about. So that is what we're talking about. Need to stop saying the word talk on screen right before I jump into the first section. For anyone who's interested or if you're curious, I have loads of coaching offers on my website. You can take a look, special discount, bundle deals. So take a look if you want to do that, because the thing I think that differentiates my coaching that I'm proud of is that I actually offer a free infographic with every written coaching package. So feel free to take a look at that or join my membership if you want a more affordable version of coaching. But now let's start the video. Most people do actually have a number of affirmations. I think it's quite rare, unless you are hyper focusing on just one end goal, to only have, one or two affirmations. So whether it's within a topic such as SP, I know people do tend to have several. At least when I speak to my clients, they do like to go over, quite a larger number of affirmations. So when you do have more than 2 or 3 affirmations, robotic affirming is going to be your best friend. It's going to be the simplest way to loop your affirmations with, a kind of saturated format of repetition where you're not just saying it a couple times, you're saying it a lot. It's drilling into the subconscious because you've repeated it so many times. And the more you repeat it, the more you start to believe it, and it's all just this domino effect and cycle that takes place as you are convincing your own mind more and more. So if you do have quite a few affirmations, even spread across different topics, like there's lots of things that people want to achieve in life. If you're affirming for all of that, kind of what I'm doing, I'm always trying to do a little glow up of my entire life of areas where I think, oh, let me improve this and that. So when you do have that, robotic affirming is going to be the quickest way to incorporate it into your day. So it's helping you loop them more overall. You don't have to, it's not going to be like super draining because you just know instantly, robotically affirm, robotically affirm, robotically affirm. And then of course you can apply this whilst multitasking throughout the day. That is more of like a step-by-step guide that I've talked about in other previous videos. So please do take a look for more in-depth information on that specific part of like multitasking and, when and how to actually incorporate those robotic affirmations. But essentially you can obviously use them throughout your day. There's so many moments, so many times when you can robotically affirm. So it's literally helping you loop them even more than if you were just to say, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes now just focusing on my end result. And in terms of a Neville Goddard concept, SATS, state akin to sleep, occurs quite a few times, during the day or just in general, regularly. It happens regularly. It's not this, level 3000 meditation skill that you need to practice and build up. Everyone naturally goes into SATS. Usually, yes, it is like before you go to sleep, maybe when you wake up, but it's something where, if you're kind of zoning out, your mind is calm or relaxed or kind of unfocused, and you're just in that really, I feel like during school, I would get into SATS a lot. Like if you're sitting in a boring class, maybe you're tired, it's the afternoon, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go home soon. I'm just a bit tired and sleepy. That's kind of an example of what SATS is, because your conscious mind isn't racing. You're not in this really highly analytical state where you're totally alert, almost like to, compare it, it would be like, you've just had a large cup of coffee, your mind is racing and buzzing. It's kind of the opposite of that. So this does occur naturally. You don't always have to induce this. And you don't even need to be, hyper aware of your different states or worry, when am I in SATS? Do I need to immediately go and affirm? It will happen, like I said, naturally and quite regularly, unless you have a very high-paced like high on alert lifestyle or work, it's going to happen pretty naturally. And if you keep robotically affirming throughout your day and during like slow moments, quiet moments to yourself, chances are you are kind of hitting the targets when your mind is most susceptible. The conscious mind barriers are down because, again, you're not constantly analyzing or pushing back or in this really negative agitated state where your conscious mind would push back against your affirmations. So the more you do it, chances are you are targeting your subconscious mind throughout the day. And the great thing is that no matter how small or subtle the movement starts out as, when you apply repetition to your affirmations for the SP topic, they do go straight to your SP's subconscious mind. So it does start to have some kind of an effect. Obviously, everything is going to be a mirror reflection back to you of what you assume. So as you start looping more and more that one affirmation, one after another, whatever format you want to do it in for your SP, it is immediately starting to take an effect, even if it starts off very subtle. This is the best way to really hit and target the negative old story. If you have you felt that that's been pretty stubborn, you just can't seem to forget or let go of doubts, worries, or even like actual past memories regarding your manifestation topic, especially in SP, robotic affirming and just looping your affirmations in a just very repetitive, elongated format, maybe saying it 200 times in a row, then you are really saturating your own subconscious mind, and it's targeting and kind of revising and erasing that negative old story. It's not going to it's going to decrease in prevalence in your mind, meaning your mind isn't going to hold on to it as much. It's going to kind of almost forget it or revise it, as I did say. And yeah, overall, it's just really going to reshape the way the things that your own subconscious mind has held on to, because you're starting to convince yourself, oh, this is a fact about my reality. This is a belief about my reality. And of course, the subconscious cannot argue back. What's really great as well is the more you focus on that, if you, instead of just saying it a couple times or being on a mental diet, which is still really great and powerful, you are then taking a slightly longer period of time. I'm talking even just 10-15 minutes in each time per moment of looping affirmations, per scheduled time slot, if you want to call it that, whether it's scheduled or spontaneous. But if you do it even just 10-15 minutes at a time, you are activating your frontal lobe because you are focusing your mind on the end result that you want. You are focused on one specific visual scene, an outcome, an idea, right? The concept of essentially what you're imagining, whether you're daydreaming, thinking about TV show, or your actual affirmation, you're activating your frontal lobe. And that, alongside everything else that happens, your neural pathways being impacted, just all of it combined, is literally changing the way your mind is working, where your mind focuses, the thought patterns and automated habits that you're literally building up. As you know, the classic saying of it takes 21 days to build a habit. Think of how effective robotic affirming can be. Some of the things that you may notice as well, like I said, this is part of proof that your mind changes. Your automated reactions, triggers, even tying into potentially like PTSD, things that might immediately trigger anxiety or, bad memories for you. Not that that's exactly the same as PTSD, but that I'm using that as an example, that your mind is literally completely changing because you are probably going to start visualizing your future more. With the end result, you're going to start imagining that reality. You're going to have fewer opposing thoughts. Those triggers themselves will not be triggering. They might not completely go away, but your reaction to them will start to change. So by focusing on and affirming that is literally a part of your reality, whatever your affirmation is, you're rewiring your nervous system to accept that as your reality, to accept it as the truth. So your mind is reacting, your mind is focusing on it, your body, neural pathways, nervous system, all of it is conforming alongside that. That's why I always say in my videos that the most important part and first step is your own conforming. And the more you can stay in that state, focus on it, apply, robotic affirming, it doesn't even need to be that you completely feel it or connect to it perfectly, but the more you focus on it mentally and hold that and replay, especially for 10-15 minutes, which again, it's not normal for the human mind to sit there and think or speak about a topic or one specific outcome for that long. It's really powerful. So you are literally rewiring your internal reality, and then your external reality is going to rewire and shift to start to reflect that. With robotic affirming, like I said, it's simple, it's easy, it's no pressure. You don't have to take up loads of mental or emotional energy, which is why even if I'm having a down day, a bad day, I do try and kind of make myself, push myself and force myself to at least do a little bit of repetition. Even if it's just like 10 times, I'm like, okay, let me just say it, just think it. This will be good for me in the future. If you're not even focused on it, it is going straight into your subconscious mind. You don't even have the time or full mental clarity to oppose it or say, hold on, there are these 3D circumstances and that's going on. So not only is it just going straight through to the subconscious mind, you're not even putting a lot of energy into it. You don't need to believe it or be an expert at manifesting. You just have to repeat the affirmation. As I said before, you're not even allowing for, well, I think I touched on how you'll have fewer opposing thoughts, but you're basically not even allowing opposing thoughts to come in by focusing on obviously your affirmation, the outcome, that being your present reality, that being a part of your physical reality. You're not even giving your mind the time to start analyzing or questioning, wait a minute, here are 10 reasons why that's not true or why the manifestation hasn't worked yet, you know, whatever rubbish it may come up with about the old story and old beliefs that you may have had. You're not giving yourself time or energy to even focus on that old version, focus on what you may have been thinking up until then. As I said, it does impact your specific person. If there's people involved in your manifestation, even just a friendship, it doesn't obviously have to be a romantic SP, but your mind is conforming just as much. So whatever's changing to bring in whatever end result you want, maybe people giving you an opportunity, something coming up in your proximity, like that gives you an opportunity or a chance to, you know, achieve that end result, because I know sometimes it's like a tangible manifestation. You are also conforming just as much. So all the movement you're seeing, just know that internally your mind is improving, strengthening, your beliefs are becoming more positive. And although, again, it's not guaranteed and there isn't a way to quantify or say you're guaranteed this in 3 days, the more time you loop, the quicker your results come in. So obviously, to make, you know, a simple example and explanation is that imagine you only loop your affirmation 10 times a day versus someone doing this kind of robotic affirming practice and they loop theirs 1,000 times a day. And let's say it's on par with one another, right? So you're both maybe manifesting a date with your SP or a promotion at work. Who do you think is realistically, but also realistically in the sense of how manifestation works, not just about your 3D reality, who's going to be quicker with their manifestation, right? The person who's spending more time convincing themselves it is their reality. So the more time you loop, the rule and general principle is that you're likely to receive your manifestation quicker. The steps along the way will come together powerfully because again, you're opposing and overriding any negative thoughts that you may have had. First point is, of course, multitasking. As I said, I have talked about this in previous videos, but find times, again, don't worry too much about SATs. SATs comes in naturally, but find times where it works for you, for your schedule, multitask. You know, you can, if you're not able to, I know not everyone like lives on their own or has lots of free time, loop it in your mind, like at idle times where you can be quiet or you're kind of doing your own solo thing, you know, like commuting, or maybe there's like a break at work or at school or whatever. You can loop your affirmations in your mind, or, you know, say them out loud to yourself, do a little verbal rampage. Find ways to multitask throughout your day, because honestly, it's now second nature for me, where I know when I'm getting ready, when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning or whatever, you know, getting ready, I do try and take as much of that time as possible to loop my affirmations. Next point as well, it's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum of this, but schedule in the time. So either just do it casually, randomly. I know sometimes that works. I'm not saying every day you have to do at 2 p.m, but you could maybe say, okay, when I wake up, when I go to sleep, I'm going to start building up this habit, robotically just loop and saturate my mind with my affirmation, maybe this time throughout the day and that time. So find a schedule that works for you. I definitely recommend for you guys to test this out, even just with one affirmation, to see what visuals come up, what kind of thoughts and daydreams may come up when your mind really starts to believe that this could be true. It's also helping your mind not wander as, you know, throughout the days you're doing different tasks, or when you're idle, like I said, and your mind kind of sometimes can go into overdrive or start bringing up old negative thoughts. I'm very self-aware of that with myself. It's just human nature, right? So it is going to try and resolve things, find answers to questions and all that kind of stuff. But your mind isn't going to wander if you're taking that time instead to loop your affirmations robotically, mindlessly. So that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy that. If you did, do thumbs up and subscribe, turn on that notification bell, especially so that you'll be one of the first people to see my actual challenge video when it does come up, of me putting this practice in literally times 1,000. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.